The one I'm absolutely most excited about is in terms of providing access to funds and credit for businesses to operate. But with AI, it's bringing in a new way companies can, or banks can learn to trust companies and smaller businesses. They are able to use AI to look at other behaviors, like how often do they pay their bills, how often do they engage in good practices, and use that instead to trust the businesses. And so because of that, now we might be able to triple or quadruple the number of small businesses that get access to loans to operate their businesses. This would be so transformational and help more small businesses grow, which will trickle down to their families, their kids, and society.
Hello, and welcome to the latest episode of AI Trends with Ash. This is Ash Bala, your host, and I am thrilled to have you on board. In this series, we will engage in insightful conversations with industry experts, thought leaders, and professionals to explore the ever-evolving world of AI and its impact on the future of work. Whether you're a high schooler curious to learn about AI or a seasoned professional looking to gain more knowledge, this series has something for you. In today's episode, we have a visionary guest who is at the forefront of driving change at the intersection of AI, community economics, and historical regenerative philosophies. Please join me in welcoming Alexander Tsado, the co-founder, COO, and CPO of Ahura AI. At Ahura AI, Mr. Tsado has been pioneering at the creation of the world's first AI tutor to accelerate self-learning in the workforce. By combining neuroscience and AI, Ahura AI is helping individuals and businesses stay ahead in the rapidly evolving workforce. Mr. Tsado's commitment to empowering underrepresented communities and fostering innovation doesn't stop there. He is also the co-founder and board member of Alliance for Africa's Intelligence, an organization that ensures African innovations receive the recognition and deserve they need, and that no individual is left behind. With his impressive track record, Mr. Tsado continues to do it all, from advising emerging startups to driving transformation on national and continental scales. He has shared his insights on global stages, including United Nations top business school programs and multiple podcasts, advocating for the future where disruptive technologies are harnessed to uplift lives in the frontier markets. Throughout his journey, Mr. Tsado has consistently embodied the spirit of impact, whether it be through his role as an impact investor and advisor, or his contributions to organizations like Data Science Nigeria, Bain & Company, NVIDIA, and more. Without further ado, Alexander Tsado, thank you for joining me and welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so very much for that kind introduction. I appreciate it.
No problem. Okay, so we can just get right into the questions. So this first question is basically just like a background for you. So could you tell us about your career path that led you to combine AI, community economics, and the historical regenerative philosophies to create a positive change today?
Definitely. My career has taken me to very many different places. Well, from the very beginning, I was born in Nigeria and went to school there before moving to the US to go to college and study electrical engineering at Columbia University. So my first job was really a technical one where I was a full stack developer. But as I started to do that and build in the banking space, I started to pay a lot more attention to the communities where I lived and understand how people decide what work to take on and what implications that ends up having for their earning capabilities and their families. And that started to become very, very important to me. The second thing that started to become important down the line was I started to pay more attention to history of other parts of the world. Growing up in Nigeria, we spent a lot of time learning about the history of the US. But then being in the US, I started spending a lot more time learning about the history of Nigeria, Africa, Latin America, Asia, and other parts of the world. And it became so fascinating to learn how these other parts of the world, when they, you could say, had a more of a global influence, they were pushing ideas of what I'm calling a regenerative philosophy, where they cared a lot more about giving back to the environment. There was this idea of a continuous cycle where you take from the environment one hand and give back with the other hand, where everything was sustainable and regenerative in that sense. And I found it incredibly fascinating. And I became so interested in bringing that back to the limelight when I was 25. And so I started to work on those pieces where it's around regenerative philosophies, community economics, thinking about how do you empower more people to earn a living that will better the life of their society, their families and society. And then the third piece you mentioned there is with artificial intelligence, where I came to learn about 6 or so years ago about how artificial intelligence will potentially transform the world. And I think this year is the year that many more people are starting to learn that that's the fact, that this decade is going to be about artificial intelligence. So I was working at NVIDIA, NVIDIA, which is the company that made modern day AI possible and progress the way it is right now. And from that company, we did a lot of work to help democratize artificial intelligence. And I can tell you more about that through the rest of the podcast.
That's amazing. The career that led you to everything that you do now is really inspiring. And I'm glad you shared that with us. So, my second question is basically advice. So, what advice would you give to a high school student that is passionate about AI or is seeking to create a more meaningful impact on their community?
Just keep learning. Just be a very, very open learner who's willing to learn so much more about artificial intelligence. It is becoming the technology that defines much of life as we're going to know it for the next decade. So you need to know it. It's almost as asking someone to learn about electricity or to learn about the internet. You need to know about those things, and AI is becoming that way. And so if you're not learning about artificial intelligence, please stop what you're doing, talk to your parents and talk to your teachers and ask them to introduce you to artificial intelligence. The second thing I would say there is when people think about AI, they think about just the technical side of it and think that they have to go learn how to write code and build software. I want them to change that thinking. AI is going to affect everything. So the very first step is to just learn about how it affects the lives of people from a social standpoint. And then from there, progress to other ways you can engage. You can be someone who's more interested in marketing and posting on social media. You can post about AI, or you could be someone who cares about laws and the legal side of things, where you can think about the laws that are behind AI. And then you could be the technical person who actually wants to who wants to do computer science and write code. Then you can go more technical.
Yeah, that's really good advice, and I will definitely take it. I know a lot of people that think that AI is mainly just code, so it kind of limits their thinking, like, oh, I'm not good at coding, so I'm probably not going to be able to go through with this career path.
Mhm,
But it's important to know that AI is affecting all careers, not just like one specific one. So thank you for that.
mhm.
My third question is, could you share a memorable experience or project where AI-driven solutions led to improvements in community economics? And also, what are some challenges that you faced with that?
Definitely. The one I'm absolutely most excited about is in terms of providing access to funds and credit for businesses to operate. For the most part, small businesses find it very difficult and challenging to get loans from banks. Well, let me take a step back. Big companies operate mainly like a big part of their operation is getting loans from banks. The wealthier you are, the more loans you take from banks, actually. And because of that, you're able to build a much bigger business because you're getting loans to operate in a much bigger game that you have access to. So this is what big companies do. This is what wealthy people do. But then it's pretty sad that then people who aren't as wealthy, who sometimes you can even say are pretty poor or small businesses, have almost no access to loans. So it's like you actually need the loans more because you're small, but you have no access to it. And you might ask, why is this? It's because before banks give you money, they want to trust you. It's hard to trust a small business because you're not sure if they can pay you back, right? And so what banks do is they ask for things like a collateral. And collateral can be a house. They want to see that you have a house so that when they give you the money and if you don't pay, they'll take the house away, right? But for a small business, they're a small business. They don't have access to a house or collateral. So it's like they don't have what it takes. And so that has just been a really bad situation for the last hundreds of years. But with AI, it's bringing in a new way companies can, or banks can learn to trust companies and smaller businesses. They are able to use AI to look at other behaviors, like how often do they pay their bills? How often do they engage in good practices? And use that instead to trust the businesses. And so because of that, now we might be able to triple or quadruple the number of small businesses that get access to loans to operate their businesses. This would be so transformational and help more small businesses grow, which will trickle down to their families, their kids, and society. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah, that is really exciting. And I think it's really important that you stated that smaller companies are less likely to get a bigger loan by banks because, and it's important that AI and its evolving and development is helping those companies with that and potentially growing them. So that's great. So my fourth question is, what are some of the most exciting trends you hope to see at the intersection of AI and community economics?
So I really hope that more AI innovators choose to build solutions that are like this, like the one I described earlier on, where it's around helping create opportunities for the majority of people. So far, I've seen applications of AI that are just around helping the majority of people have more fun. I don't think that's interesting and useful. Like, this is the most important tool that we have invented as a species, as humanity, and we're deciding to use it to build tools to have fun. That's just completely wrong. I hope more AI innovators, become like innovate from a place of purpose where they look at the society and figure out ways to create access to basic needs that are useful and important and improve people's lives, not give them more waste their time. I'm referring to things like social media platforms. They're the biggest AI companies today. They're social media platforms whose only job is to figure out ways for you to have fun and find entertainment. Instead, it should be tools like this I described, which is providing access to loans for businesses and the healthcare space. You can build an AI tool that helps answer health questions that people have so that, they don't have to wait till they can afford to go see a doctor, which is extremely expensive. They can just ask an AI tool and answer the question. Right? There's so many things that we can do to improve the lives of people, and let's work on that instead.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really important that AI has this much potential and that we should put it towards stuff that needs more help or needs to be problem solved in the world, instead of, like you said, like social media and having fun. So that's really great insight. Thank you for that. My fifth question is, you've been involved in advising and investing in various companies. Can you talk about a few AI-driven projects that are most promising?
Yes, well, I guess I've been sharing about my favorite ones already in terms of the finance space and the banking space. I'm extremely excited about the one I am working on. I chose to work on education. I chose to work on education because the age of AI is going to require everybody relearning everything that they know. Well, a lot of things that they used to know. A lot of things are going to change. And so people are going to need to relearn how to do their jobs. If they don't, people talk about AI is going to take away jobs. It's not really that AI is going to take away jobs, but someone who knows about AI is going to take away your job. That's the difference. And
Mhm.
so people need to learn about artificial intelligence and how to use it to study, how to use it to work. Decided to start a company called Ahura AI, Ahura, to be the partner that helps people learn. You can imagine as a student, you have your textbook that has all this content on what you're supposed to learn, but every single week the world is changing. So a tool like Ahura AI can be a partner. It can help you be aware of how the world is changing, tell you what new skills are happening. It can help you understand yourself as a learner. You become such a powerful learner when you understand yourself. You can imagine if you learn that you prefer to learn through audio, you can then convert every book that's been given to you into audio, and that way you can learn faster. Um, it's really key to be able to learn your learning superpowers. When you do, we believe you can learn 3 times faster. And so Ahura AI tries to help you figure out your learning superpowers so that you can learn faster and keep up with the changing world.
That's great. Yeah, it's really important that schools and education involve AI because, like you said, school like textbooks are kind of outdated. Like they've been using the same ones for like 10 years, 15 years. So it's important that AI comes in and sort of reshifts their way of thinking
Mhm.
and creates like it shows them to new things that are happening in the world. So that's great that you mentioned that. So my seventh question is, as an AI leader, what are some skills and qualities you believe are essential for emerging professionals looking to make meaningful impact in society? And what skills will become less important?
The absolute most important skill is the most important skill you should learn is learning how to learn. That's the most important skill because things are going to change so much faster. So it doesn't matter what you have learned. It's about how do you learn faster because things are going to keep changing. And so in school now, you should really be focusing. It's interesting to learn the topics you have there, physics, biology, chemistry, art. It's cool information. But what you should really be figuring out every single day is am I how do I learn faster? Is it by sitting in front of a teacher? Is it by talking with my friends about what the teacher said afterwards? Is it by reading oh yeah, this is one for me. For example, in school, I like to read about the topic before I come to class because that way I've seen it before. And then when the teacher is speaking, I'm hearing it a second time. And then I already have questions I want to ask because I've read about it already. So that's my approach. I don't know what your approach is.
Mhm.
Actually, do you already have an approach about this? How
Uh,
do you learn?
Yeah, so I'm kind of similar to you in a sense because like I learned the concept, like the beginning of the concepts before even school starts, like during the summer, so that I have like a good understanding. And then like you said, when I get to school, I get to ask questions because I already learned the topic in a surface level, so that I can like relearn it, I guess, and like hear what the teacher has to say and kind of like combine those things. So
Mhm.
yeah, that's
That's
interesting.
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. Another thing that's helpful is we have found that because we are like a research lab that tries to understand how people learn. We've found that the more active your learning is, the more effective it is, right? Passive learning is you just sit back, someone's saying something to you, and that's it, right? Active learning is maybe you are writing down what they're saying, right? You're taking notes, or you after the class you speak about it to yourself, or you have a group of 3 friends and you guys talk about what you just heard, or you go and you try to teach somebody what was taught to you. That's actually the most effective. If you have to teach someone what you've learned, you'll find that you're actually paying attention because you have to teach someone else. So it's really good to have things like student clubs where you teach people things. It really helps you learn the thing yourself and you almost never forget it. So
Mhm.
yeah, that's
Yeah,
what.
I really like how you mentioned passive learning and active learning because passive learning is basically like when you just listen and it kind of just goes out on one ear. and you can't really understand, and you're like, oh, I'll learn it at home, but you never really get to that point. I think active learning is really important in school settings because, yeah, like you said, note writing, and like actually like taking into account what the teacher is saying is really important.
Yeah.
Um, yes. So my next question is, you are the co-founder of Ahura AI, the world's first ever AI tutor for workforce self-learning. Can this technology also empower high school students in their learning journey and future career choices?
Yes, it definitely can. There are a number of high schoolers who already use it in California, where they use it for homework when they're doing homework. Basically, you go to class, you have your teacher, they teach you in whatever format they like. But when they give you homework, you're typically alone. You go home and you use your laptop and you try to do your homework. At that point, you can switch on Ahura AI. Ahura AI, when you switch it on, it basically almost turns your computer into like an AI teacher. And what does a teacher do? A teacher can observe what you're doing and give you feedback and advice, right? For example, when you're trying to study, your teacher tells you, "Oh, I can see you're a little sleepy. Do you want to take a break, or do you want to stand up and do some jumping jacks?" Right? They can also observe that you're really excited about what you're learning. And they're like, "Okay, this is great. Keep going that way." Or they can find out that you're looking bored or confused, and then they try to ask you questions and try to change the way the content is being delivered to you. All of these things are what Ahura AI is now being able to do. And a teacher sees you through their eyes. Ahura sees you through the webcam. So basically, it works with your webcam. It runs this artificial intelligence that analyzes the video and tries to understand what you're doing. And based on that, it coaches you to go through your homework better. And yeah, the high schoolers who've been using it, they're finding that the very first thing is they're pretty excited to be able to track how much time they're spending doing homework. So they feel better. They're like, okay, at least I spent 3 hours this week or 6 hours next week. They can track how much time. The second thing is they're now able to understand what they really love, like what classes they take that make them really happy, and then what classes are a little tough. They're able to figure that out now because of our AI. And the third thing is they're able to more accurately understand when they're getting distracted. Right? If you ask people how often do you look at your phone, they'll say maybe 10, 20% of the time. But then when you switch on Ahura and it checks, it sees that it's actually maybe 60% of the time. So now you have the information and you can improve it. So yeah, that's
That's
what's been doing so far.
That's awesome. I'm really inspired by the whole Ahura AI and its mission. I also have a follow-up question to this, and I know we were talking about people that are not so going for AI. So what would you tell those people that are like scared to use Ahura AI and its ability to use webcams and like stuff like that?
It's really around the reason they are worried. They are worried because typically the example of tech companies they've seen so far are companies that take this data and they sell it. They sell the video, they sell whatever they've gathered on you to marketing companies try to sell you ads and things like that, right? That's what's happened with Facebook, Google, and the larger companies. That's why they're really worried. That's the main one. The second one is that they don't want someone else to like watch their videos. They don't want the video to be saved and someone else to watch it. So these are things that we, the founders of Ahura AI, we were working for the largest companies in the world. We chose to quit our jobs because we're not happy with how they were treating data, and we decided to form Ahura AI to be an example. And so with Ahura AI, there's no surveillance happening. It's no one else is watching your video. The video is just yours. It's a self-help for you to understand how you are behaving so that you can improve yourself. And the second point is we're not selling any of the data because we're not saving it, right? So it's like we don't have anything to sell. The whole point is how do we help the next generation of people learn fast enough to keep up with this pace of change? without a tool like Ahura AI, I'm worried society might struggle to keep up with how quickly things are changing.
Yeah, it's important that society and viewers that are watching this to notice that AI is a very fast evolving thing, and we shouldn't ignore it. Instead, we should embrace it and go along with the changes. Okay,
Yeah, go along with the changes. One piece I'll add is the change can go in several directions. We shouldn't. We should feel empowered to help nudge and change the direction it goes. We have the power to do that. I think even the younger the person, the more impact they have. So you guys in high school, feel free to share your voice, like speak, write articles, talk about what you believe people should be doing with AI, and to influence them to take it in that direction. And then hopefully we can change from the current direction where AI is just almost only being used to figure out how to make more profit as against improve people's lives.
Of course. That's amazing insight. So my last question is very serious. No, I'm joking. It's just a little lighthearted one. But in your opinion, is a societal concern about an AI apocalypse for entertainment in movies, or is it a real concern?
Yes, you're referring to RoboCop and AI just like taking over everything. It's not what I worry about at all. I don't worry about that at all. It's so far away from happening. Before that, we can make a lot of much worse decisions before that even happens. Like in the next year, this year, with the AI tools being built this year, we can create so much harm. Yes, we can create so much harm already. And that's what I worry about. So it's really around talking to innovators, talking to students, and educating them on the harm that they can create so that they don't do that. That's actually a lot more important than thinking about RoboCop. RoboCop is so far away. There's so many more problems right now. And if I was to explain that, AI is really around automating whatever you want. You give it like 1,000 examples of something, then it's going to go do that thing, right? So for example, if you gave it 1,000 if you give it 1,000 pictures of cats, now it can observe, it can understand. If you see the new picture, it can know if there's a cat there or not. Example number two, if you give it so many examples of people getting hired for a job, and if you use the data the way it is today in a place like America, the United States, that data would show that most women were not given the job. So that AI is now going to automatically deny women jobs. So that's harmful.
Mm-hmm.
So instead, we should not just take the data blindly the way it is. We should figure out what's the world we want to create and create data that maps to that world and use that to train the AI. So that's a change I usually like to teach.
That's amazing. Yeah, I think a lot of companies, like you said, they limit people off and only want to hire like one group of people, but that can be very detrimental to the company because other groups can offer a lot of inputs and opinions on a subject that can be really empowering and helpful. So that was my last question. So thank you so much, Alexander Tsado, for generously sharing your insights at the intersection of AI, community economics, and historical regenerative philosophies. Your expertise has shed light on transformative power of AI within underrepresented communities and the valuable opportunities it presents for younger generations. We are immensely grateful for your time and wisdom. Before we sign off, do you have any final thoughts or extra advice you would like to give students that would want to pursue a career in AI?
No, I'm just very excited that you're having this podcast and sharing all this information with them. You're giving them a better chance at surviving in this. It's a new world. It's a new world, and you really need to keep up with new skills that are being created. And I hope tools like ours are able to help you. You guys feel free to follow us on social media. We have an Instagram page and a Twitter page, or it's called X now. If you just check for Ahura AI, so AHURA, you'll find our pages, and we post a lot of like new cool things about cool tools or cool new tips and tricks for how to learn faster. So I wish you guys well.
Thank you so much. I will definitely check out that Instagram page. But thank you so much for joining me today. And that brings us to the conclusion of this episode of AI Trends with Ash. I will see you all in my next episode. Until then, stay curious. Bye.